It's time to get your pools. Going to the comic store. Time to get your pools. Better get those bags and boards out. Better get those pools at the
PottyHumor.com.
Yeah.
Welcome to Get Your Pulls, number 65. I'm Muji.
I'm Dan.
And I'm Todd.
And we're back again this week. Talk about comics.
That's what we do.
It's been a fun week. We got a lot of Villains Month books, and then we have other books, and then Todd's got random books from random weeks.
That's right.
On his
last week.
Yes, his very own pull back to the pull list.
Back to the pool box.
Yes. But we got a little bit of news to talk about. Crazy enough, DC creator news. As if we don't talk about that all the fucking time.
Yeah,
Well, you know, they're one of two, and at least in comics there is two, and I mean, hell, three really. You gotta give Image their slice of the pie, but no doubt, having some of the most iconic characters in the history of comics, DC is gonna be in the news. Seemed to be a lot of controversy surrounding that name as of late.
Yeah, not really any on this week's couple of news, at least not from their perspective. Even though it's kind of funny. Geoff Johns leaving Aquaman, very sad. We can't remember if we talked about it last week. We don't think so, but if we did, we didn't talk about it with Todd, so we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
His opinion matters.
Yes, he's leaving, I believe, after issue number 25. That'll be the end of him. Luckily, Jeff Parker's taken over, who's been doing Badass with Batman 66. And
Oh, he's been doing the Dark Lord's work with Batman 66. I mean, that shit is like the reason comics were invented. That and Hulk punching a dinosaur.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
yeah, so that's at least a good announcement. Seems like it'll be in good hands. Johns did what he does, made Aquaman relevant and somebody that everybody thinks is awesome, just like he did with Green Lantern and like he continued with the Flash. So
it's a bit more of a challenge with Aquaman, though, because he's kind of got that stigma attached.
Because he never was badass.
Yeah.
It's like the Flash and Green Lantern were both badass at times. He just made them badass again.
He made relaunches.
He
This one stuck.
Yeah, for most people, he made Aquaman badass for the first time.
And will he survive, though, a creative change? Like, without Geoff Johns, is Aquaman going to stay Aquaman?
I think Geoff Johns is like, he's combined a very rough, edgy Aquaman with a humorous. There's plenty of humor that's thrown in there, peppered amongst the comic. And Jeff Parker, of course, on Batman 66, like it's totally humor, but he's writing in the material, and he's shown he's talented. I'm really not worried. Actually, I'm kind of excited. Yeah. I kind of wish Geoff Johns would have got to stick around a little bit longer on Aquaman, but he laid a great foundation for another really good writer to come and run with. So let's see if they do it.
Yeah, and something really hilarious, some of the backlash I saw on it, as there always is, because it was announced on the internet, so nothing does not get backlash. There could be an announcement that everyone that reads this tweet is going to get a free $1 million, and somebody would say that it was bogus, that people are getting free money. But they, one of the crazy things I saw where people were like, there we go again. He's like, I wonder who pissed Geoff Johns off. And it's like, nobody. He writes like whatever books he wants for however long he wants. He's like, he obviously just was like, I think I'm going to leave this book now because I want to. So
yeah,
I thought it was hilarious that some people are like just such anti-DC that they could even try to sell that. Oh man, it's like Geoff Johns. I bet somebody tried to fuck him.
Few people are swinging bigger balls around DC than Geoff Johns right now, so I don't think he's got anything to worry about.
Yeah, but also other news that bridges into that, even though it hasn't really been announced, but it's a big rumor. It's about John Romita Jr. You can kind of follow. There's some different timelines and some different websites. I think Bleeding Cool's where I read like a lot of this. where Romita's had a bit of a fallout as of late with Marvel, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's surprising, man, because he's been exclusively Marvel forever.
Yeah.
For the most part,
What,
yeah.
back to the 70s, 60s?
Yeah,
even?
70s, 80s, probably 70s.
But he's been exclusive with them for a really long time. There were rumblings that he was having some sort of a contract dispute with them. He wasn't happy. I saw he's announced some other work, like outside of Marvel or DC, for some different places. Mostly, just like miniseries and whatnot. But
Nice.
recently, he confirmed that he's been off contract at Marvel for a few months, just working freelance for them, and that he has another project that's going to be at DC for sure. And he didn't really try to hide it. He was like, yeah, I'm going to be working for DC. He's like, it looks like it's going to be Superman.
That's so badass. Because, yeah, I've been a huge fan for the longest time. I've always wanted to see him on a DC book, and looks like it's finally going to happen. So, I'm excited.
That would be fantastic. Oh, yeah. I mean, it would be, one of the most unique takes on Superman visually in quite a while because of just the way they brought him in the New 52. Romita brings something totally different to the table.
Yeah, and it makes sense that would probably be on the regular Superman title. I mean, unless they launched like another extra Superman book, which I mean isn't. It's it's not like that's impossible, but regular Superman the sales have not been great, and there's not anyone that's. I think there's not one writer at DC that has been pretty much like universally hated, whether it's just or not, as Scott Lobdell has in the New 52. That is an ongoing joke. Every time somebody announces they're leaving a book, you just see message boards filled with, please don't give it to Scott Lobdell. Because he does seem to pick up anytime somebody's mad with a book, that's what happened. George Perez loves Superman. Lobdell, Action Comics, fill in a little run here.
Yeah, people really don't love Scott Lobdell's Teen Titans in the New 52. They really, really, really don't love it. I've only read a little bit of it, and I didn't really read enough. I'd like to form an opinion of it, but the major consensus is not good on that one.
Yeah. But with that book having bad sales, and by the fact that a new creative team is just now taking over Action Comics, it makes sense that, if he's going to take over one of the books, it'd be that one.
Plug him into one of the
and
main
then
ones.
Also with Geoff Johns, with him announcing that, he's basically right now with leaving Aquaman, he's writing, Justice League and Forever Evil, which of course, is only 6 or 7 issues. And then he's working on Batman Earth 1. Geoff Johns is usually writing 19 books. So he tried to play it off and then was getting a bunch of people freaking out, you leaving comics? Leaving comics? So he pretty much was like, no, I'm going to write something else. We're going to announce it soon. He's like, sooner than later. He's like, I'll have a new book coming out at DC. And a lot of people just kind of put 2 and 2 together to think that maybe that's going to be the book. That, that is a very DC thing to do. If you're going to bring in a big-time guy, you put him with one of your big-time writers. Same thing,
Be a dream team.
Yeah, you brought in Jim Lee. It's like, what are we going to do? He's like, you're going to do fucking Batman with Jeff Loeb. That's what you're going to do. Right. That's what they've done with a lot of these people. So it makes, that is a team that people love to see. So if that's the case, that A is very exciting, and B, it's pretty crazy how they've breathed life into all these Superman books where, none of them were selling and everybody pretty much hated all of them a couple months ago.
Definitely.
And now everybody's excited for Pack on Action Comics. Batman, Superman selling great. People are liking it.
Charlie Soule on Superman, Wonder Woman coming up. There's a lot of anticipation surrounding that.
Yeah, which seemed pretty cool. I mean, we'll see how this plays out, but he said he described the book as like Empire Strikes Back. He said that it's after Superman and Wonder Woman. I think it's set after they beat Darkseid, and now they're still it's not over. They're still having to go, and I have dealing with the fallout of that, and that book, I believe, is what the story is going to be. So, yeah, that's awesome. You want Superman to be healthy, and it looks like he's finally going to be that way. So,
good idea coming into the Man of Steel sequel.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Which they also announced Batman's going to have a girlfriend.
Oh.
No idea who, not much to speculate on, but they said it's going to be somebody that is a known love interest of him in the comics. So, I mean,
that leaves it to a few. I mean,
5 to 10.
It's not a giant list.
Yeah.
It's a decent enough list, but I think you can cut down a lot of it. I mean,
People have been using
seriously
before.
now.
You probably can
Seriously
cut out
now,
like
it's been-
Vicky Vale.
Well,
Probably
I
not.
think she's a front runner because
Really?
she has been used before, and
like name recognition.
well, and also the fact that Clark's dating a reporter. If Batman was also dating a
Uh.
reporter, that would be kind of a parallel thing for them to deal with. And if they're going to have scenes where somehow they meet in real life and their girlfriends meet or something, that's just like any way to weave that into the plot.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's been like one people have been talking about.
Silver
St.
St. Cloud is that would have been my
Right.
guess.
That's one people have been talking about. I mean,
You got Talia, you got Catwoman.
you seriously doubt it'll be either one of
Yeah.
them with them being in the last movie like that.
Right.
Just seems
yeah.
like it might confuse people if they're in it and they're not playing them by the same characters. Poison Ivy's possible. I mean, there's like there's a decent list of people. I mean, also some of his real life girlfriends that he's had that weren't super powered throughout the years.
Yeah.
That's basically all they said was that it's somebody that's been his girlfriend in the comics before. But yeah, cool. Batman has a girlfriend. There you go.
All right.
Just better not get married.
Yeah, it
don't
just better not
marry
be
them
J-Lo.
all.
I had to do it. And with that terrible joke, let's go back.
Let's all go back to the long box again, guys.
Back to a time and a place where comics were more pure, or were they? What year are we going to, Todd?
I think we all know it's
98?
1998. That's right. It's one of my favorite years in comics, and that's where we're going. I'm probably going to cover a few of these as the time goes on. It's the Heroes Return universe, which is really just the 616. The long story short, Onslaught shows up, Franklin Richards traps everybody in the Pocket Universe, and they're off the table for a little while. Thunderbolts come in, and then they come back. Well, like the big ones like Cap, Fantastic Four, and somebody else, Iron Man, yeah. They already had their big debut number ones, and they held onto this one for a while, because I guess Thor was already in the Avengers, and they had this waiting in the wings. This was a little late addition to Heroes Return. Well, they finally bring in Thor with Volume 2, Number 1. The creative team is Dan Jurgens. I guess he's done a bunch of Superman and shit.
Yeah, I think that's probably what he's the most known for.
But they bring in Romita Jr. as the artist. That's why I picked it up. And it's just awesome. Like, everything about how he draws Thor is kick-ass. All the dialogue, Dan Jurgens seems to get that kind of weird way Thor talks without it being too silly. And this was kind of a time, I mean, they do it still now, like everybody has their own kind of font in their word bubbles and shit.
I do like that. They do that a lot with Batman characters.
I mean, that kind of filters in and out here and there. I guess it depends on who's lettering it and how much money they have that week to print special word bubbles and special text everywhere. But it follows the course of Jay Olsen, a new character. He's like an EMT worker, and he's just kind of in the background of shit when Thor shows back up, and he confronts this dude that's like holding these kids hostage, claiming he is Heimdall, like the protector of the Rainbow Bridge, and Thor shows up and transports him to Asgard. And at this point, all the gods, they've disappeared from Asgard, and Asgard looks like a horrible wreck of a place. And he's just trying to figure out what the heck's going on. The dude is just a bum. He's not really Heimdall, and Thor kind of freaks out. But long story short, the artwork is incredible. It's just Romita Jr. showing off everything he can do.
Yeah, it looks pretty sweet, especially the big splash pages are pretty awesome.
And the main villain, it seems like it's the Destroyer. It seems like a character custom made for Romita Jr. to draw. And what's fucked up about the first issue is Avengers Assemble, and the Destroyer beats Thor's ass. There's a badass splash page of them fighting, and it kicks all kinds of ass. But at the end of the book, he opens up his visor, and they make a big deal talking about it like early in the issue. If he opens his visor, it could destroy the world or something. But apparently he doesn't release all of his energy, but just enough to kill Thor's ass. They actually have a death of Thor in issue number 1.
They killed Thor in the first issue.
First issue, they kill him off.
The 90s, where any gimmick was possible.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a crazy way to
Heroes
start out the
return
book.
to die.
It kept me coming back. I just picked it up because Romita Jr.'s on it, but the story was so, like, holy shit, that I had to keep coming back for more. Of course, the same that you could expect. It's just...
By the fact that you're holding Thor number 2 in your hands.
Yeah, really. Awesome splash pages abound. But coming back around to it, it's kind of a way to set up his status quo as what it was like a long time ago with Dr. Donald Blake, I believe. He was like shamed by his father. He had to inhabit a human body. Well, here, Thor's soul goes to the underworld, and Hela, he makes a deal with Hela, which is basically like Satan in the Asgardian realm. And she implants him into Jake Olsen's body, so you kind of get like a dual kind of nature to him, where he has to spend time as Jake, or he fucks up Jake Olsen's life, and then he has to spend time as Thor because the Destroyer's still out there, and he just kicked the Avengers' ass. So he's got to come back and do the deed. So really set it up well, and just like any of his books, he stayed on it, and there's very few fill-in artists, maybe for an issue here and there, like 12 issues in, but like he had a really strong run.
You gotta respect that. Not enough people do that these days, like on a lot of these books. Like, I mean, I guess with like a lot of them double shipping and stuff, it makes it really hard, but I even feel like a lot of the artists who draw almost every issue, like still, it's like every 5 or 6 in a row.
They've got to take some kind of break. And if they figured out a way around that on Spider-Man, where like each artist, they have like 3 rotating artists, and they all have one storyline, and then move to the next one, that's fine. But Romita Jr. can make that deadline, man, and that's one of the things I like about him most.
It is crazy how you hear about back in the day. Well, I guess they had a lot more freedom too, so maybe that's why I could draw faster.
Yeah.
When you hear back in the day, like stories like, old interviews with people like Jack Kirby's like,
he was doing all of them.
He's like, I was drawing like 5 pages a day, and it's like,
these young whippersnappers can't put out 2 issues of Battle Chasers. Fuck them.
It's crazy.
Oh yeah, Battle Chasers, dude. Joe Mad, he's gonna be on Inhumans. I wonder how that's gonna work out.
I don't know, man.
He's a horrible track record. He at least is gonna be in that number 1, so I might pick it up.
I mean, as great as Marvel now has been, they have launched a lot of their books with guys that you knew weren't going to make it more than 3 or 4 issues, and who didn't? None of them did. You knew in Uncanny Avengers, you knew Cassie wouldn't. You knew
Romita did.
You knew in Deadpool that.
Tony Moore.
If Tony Moore can't stay on Walking Dead and keep a piece of that, he ain't staying on Deadpool, and he didn't. So I think that's
a shame.
I think that's probably the answer is. You're going to get the first one on time, and then month 2, you're like, well, Inhumans delayed, and we have a new artist starting on issue 3. Well, no back to Longbox for me this week. Since I don't have one in its place, I'm going to give you terrible wrestling gimmick idea of the week.
Oh, nice.
I'm not going to have one of these every week, but I just thought of it sitting here. Chuck Dynasty. On to you, Dan.
Damn it. Back to the Longbox, I didn't have time to read any old comics, but I am reading the first of the Game of Thrones novels, A Song of Fire and Ice by George R.R. Martin.
Nice.
I'm sure every nerd in the world has already read and knows what's going to happen in the TV show. I don't. I'm taking the Muji philosophy. I'm reading up to current, and then I'm stopping until the show. I've already invested visually first, so I want to see it happen on the screen first. But certainly loving the book, so descriptive, add a different perspective to it. Something that you really want to geek out on, then it definitely just gives you all of that you could want, and then there's so much more to come, that's
and now you can prove to people that you do indeed know how to read, because I do remember when in case people aren't caught up, when a huge event happened this season on Game of Thrones, when people were going crazy on the internet, like people were filming their reactions to it. Yeah. It was like that. No, are you caught up on watching the show?
No.
Okay, that's why I'm not saying what it is.
I was sitting here like, he's gonna say it.
I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna spoil anything. But it was so crazy that it did have that. It had people filming their reactions to it and put it on YouTube, and they showed it on like late night TV shows. Like George R.R. Martin was on Conan, and Conan showed him videos of people's reaction.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
And
you're not getting that from a book.
And it was and it was great. I mean, A, you're not getting it from a book, but B, man, the people who already knew it was coming acted like, if you haven't already read that in the book, you obviously, A, don't know how to read, and B, have never read a book in your life.
Yeah.
People were like, oh, I knew about that 5 years ago. Read a fucking book, you fucking retards. You know, like, it's like, hey,
fantasy novel hipsters.
yes, exactly. It's like, dude, it's just, you know, I might have read fucking 50 books last year, motherfucker.
Like,
that just wasn't one of them.
Settle down.
Yes, I
I'll
think
read if I feel like
they were just bummed out that it was like a real like pop culture event like that day, and they didn't get to be a part of it because they already read the book, so they were jealous.
I know about
That's what I look about
already.
it.
Oh, yeah, they
like,
didn't get to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think that's it. They were just jealous that, you know, they had that feeling a long time ago, and now, you know, other people are discovering it for the first time. But anyways, now you can prove that you've read before, like me, so we have that in common now.
Yeah. Nice.
Happy. Yes. Despite the fact that we do a podcast about reading comics every week, now we have official evidence that we know how to read.
Yeah. I had to read books without pictures as well.
Yes. But yeah, I guess pool time.
Pool time.
I got a few. That was me as last week.
Oh, they're killing me with this Villains month, man.
Yeah,
Like,
so that's why I'm avoiding it. I'll hear
8
plenty
last
about it
week,
from
9
you guys.
this week, 7 this coming week.
I think I have like 7 again this week.
That's a big stack.
I like how shoes on the other foot now. Somehow in Villains Month I've had less books than normal, and Dan's had more than normal, so he gets to feel my normal weekly pain a little bit. But
yeah, it sucks. I mean, it's good because the books are awesome, but you know. But duty calls to you, the loyal listener.
Yeah. Well, I'll start out. I'll do my one and only Marvel book, The Indestructible Hulk, number 13. Hulk, Agent of Time, as he's now known.
It's still got the Age of Ultron banner on it. It's kind of cool.
It is the Age of Ultron aftermath, yes. If you aren't caught up in your polls, Todd, as I know you're not.
That's true.
Basically, after Age of Ultron, a few of the different books are dealing with the fact that everybody keeps going back and forth in time, and it's fucking up the timeline, so that's kind of what this is, why it's the aftermath. Is
Hulk's being sent to certain spots.
Yeah, the Hulk's being sent to different places
to
beat different people's asses. And it's like last week he was in the Old West and punched a dinosaur in the Old West, which, as we've said multiple times, that's why comics exists. It's so that Hulk can go punch a dinosaur in the Old West.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you know, no further comments needed, right?
Really? That's what you want to see.
Yeah.
If you argue with that point, never ever listen to our show again. Ever.
Yeah.
Or just don't read
You're
comics because
banished.
you might see that. I mean,
Well, this week he's punching people in Camelot, so that's what's going on this week. Pretty much the same storyline. He's going through time wherever he gets sent. It's almost like a Back to the Future trilogy, only it's the Hulk showing up, and there's no chance he's going to bone his mom.
yeah.
That's the difference. Actually, it's more like Bill and Ted's. That's what it's like. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
He's both Bill and Ted.
Yes, exactly. Well, Hulk's there and Banner's there in a robot. So, I don't know. I guess.
The robot's like George Carlin.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. The dinosaur was what's his name? Doc Brown, Christopher, blah blah blah. But
Christopher Lloyd,
Christopher
Muji.
Lloyd, yeah.
Legendary actor Christopher Lloyd.
I know. I've never heard of any actor before because I couldn't come up with Christopher Lloyd 2 seconds, Dan. Yeah, I was just trying to wrap my head around where I was going with this, which is nowhere. But it was fun. It's a good book again. Hulk Mark Waid has kind of like been what he's doing in all of his Marvel work. He just kind of makes the character on Hulk. It's really fun. I mean, Daredevil is both serious yet lighter than it's ever been. He's doing a great job. He's one of those dudes that DC shouldn't have ran off, but that's my only Marvel book of the week. So I'll jump over to my Villains Month books. Picked up Ventriloquist #1, which actually came out last week, but it got such good reviews that I went out and spent like $6 on this motherfucker. Had to get it shipped. It's actually a good deal. I got one right off the bat. It cost them like $15 now. These 3D covers are going crazy. I mean, I like them, But if it's the difference between paying $15 or buying a 2D one for $3, I'm gonna go with $3.
Give me $3.
Exactly.
I agree. The gimmick is cool, but
it's cool on our list with the 10% off and just the regular price. But yeah, I'm not paying more than an extra $1 or $2 if there's any of them I did. I got Zod for $5 shipped, so it's an extra $1 coming next week, so that seems reasonable. But anyways, thought Ventriloquist was awesome. Gail Simone wrote it. Made Ventriloquist different than I suppose the character was beforehand, from what I've heard, because I didn't really know a lot about the character anyways. But it was a very enjoyable book. A very good week 1 Villains Month book that we hadn't read yet. Harley Quinn #1. It wasn't like awful, but I didn't really like it that much. It's probably, out of what I've read, the weakest of the Villains Month books. They did kind of give her a different spin than she's had in Suicide Squad in the New 52 already. And I mean, it was a combination of like a retelling of her origin, and they added some stuff in. I mean, as always, it's almost becoming like a little cliche, which is why I always thought it was bad that Tim Drake was like, he wasn't like from like a fucked broken home. He was just smart and got to be Robin. But it's like almost all these new origin stories have something in common, which is that their parents were fucktards. And as the same, you find out that Harley Quinn, has like a whole bunch of
their parents were fucktards.
Yes, has a shitty family that all sucks, and she's the only one that has any motivation to be anybody. And then of course they get killed in an accident. So it's the way things go. I don't know. I didn't think it added very much to it. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't like awful, but it's not like a book that you need to read at all if you're gonna like enjoy another Harley Quinn book. And then the exact opposite of that was the Riddler, Batman 23-point Deuce, or the Riddler #1,
Yeah.
whichever you prefer for title. But I loved it. Favorite book so far. The story's really great. Basically, Scott Snyder. This is a 0-year tie-in also. Like, there's a little bit that pops back to 0 year. He really knows how to efficiently use the riddles to make the story awesome.
Yeah, no, nobody's ever really gone to that length that I've read with the Riddler to involve it. You almost call it a gimmick, but it just works so freaking well, and it's so unique that it's like, I don't know.
If you're not going to do that, why even use the characters?
Yeah.
So it's like nice that he's using all the
I think it's
tools.
because he's done it so great. I mean, it's almost like... It's like an M. Night Shyamalan. If at the end of it, you're sitting there and you feel like it sucks, then you're like, oh, that was gimmicky and it sucked. But if you do it really efficiently, then it's awesome. You toe that line. But he's done it awesome. It's been great. He actually wrote the story for this, and then I guess Ray Fox actually scripted it, so that's cool. And then the art was done by Jeremy Hahn, who I thought did a good job on it. It looks really good. The whole story's great. If you haven't read it, I mean, it's basically the Riddler decides he's going to go up to Wayne Tower, and because he used to work there, and fuck some people up. And, he calls it a diversion and just wants to basically fuck with everybody. And then gets to the top and is just waiting on Batman. And his riddles lead you to that. You get like 4 or 5 riddles at the very beginning of it. And as he goes on and meets different people, like on his way up to the top floor, you get to see how the riddles are solved. So it's really fun, really awesome book. Does get me pumped for next month when they go back to 0 year and the Riddler, is going to be the main villain. Looks like, there's not really like a lot of like famous Riddler stories.
Yeah, really. Especially
Especially not where he's playing like the main villain or the most important person in it. And it looks like Snyder is going to successfully have one that's going to be great.
Oh, I think he's successfully reinventing him to be a serious film villain. I mean, anybody could take a cue from that and really turn it into something that would translate to a major motion picture and a bigger audience, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I also had Walking Dead, which you had, Dan.
Yes, I did.
I guess we're going to listen to Todd first.
Moving on to my 2 pulls, I guess I thought you were still getting Fantastic Four, so I will go ahead and talk about that too. But first, from last week, my 1 pull from previous pulling that I should have had.
Yes.
Superior Spider-Man #17. We finally get the appearance of Spider-Man 2099 in the standard Marvel Universe. And I imagine this will also eventually kind of tie back into the after Age of Ultron storyline.
Yes.
Cause I
The Age of Ultron aftermath.
yeah, I imagine it's like one of those like it's kind of a just on the back burner for a long time, and either it'll come to a head or it'll just kind of fizzle out. I don't really know. Because it seems like the whole purpose of that was Bendis trying to take time travel off the table as a story kind of gimmick. But then at the same time, he put the old X-Men in the comics at the same time, so it's like, well, whatever. So we get a little bit more of that here. We got the goblins still convening underground. They're not really doing anything but fighting. This is pretty much a setup for the next issue, which I will be excited to read. This was still alright. The artwork, again, is by Ryan Stegman. Knocking it out of the park, so to speak. But pretty much sets up for the very end. Spidey 2099 finally shows up to confront, the proper Spidey. I think he automatically realizes it's not Peter, just like almost anybody that knows him should be able to do.
Yeah, could we be seeing a series of alternate reality Spider-Man showing up by Doc Ock? I think that really is where they're going.
Yeah.
I also thought it was crazy in the solicits for December. They're doing some Peter Parker Spider-Man stories.
Yeah.
But they're not like supposed to be like new. They're like all like
weird.
Looking back. Like one of the now, this is how it reads. This isn't a joke. One of the issues says that Peter is trapped in the Black Lodge.
Yeah.
The only Black Lodge I know is the crazy place in between life and death that you were trapped in Twin Peaks. So I don't know if that's exactly what it is, but it says he's trapped in the Black Lodge and he's remembering some of his like toughest fights or something. It's like, what the fuck, Marvel? But they're putting out like 4, like maybe Spider-Man 700, like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. They're trying to rob Muji in December. We'll see how much they get out of me.
Like the interest is starting to wane, and they can't wait until he comes back. So like, let's just start putting the stories out.
Well, crazily, man. Superior Spider-Man. I mean, it gets like pretty mediocre reviews in general, and almost everybody I talk to that reads it, even the people that like it, are like, I like it pretty good, but whatever. But it's been in the top 10. It's getting like 2 a month. Like the last 3 months, it's all basically been like some sort of like Batman, whatever like new books have launched, whatever crossovers are happening, and then both Spider-Man books from the month are in the top 10. So it's still selling great. So apparently, a lot of people are still liking it.
Keep pumping them out there.
All it can make me think is definitely that book won't end, but there will be an amazing Spider-Man to go with it.
Oh, man.
Because more books is what comics are all about.
Yeah, I want to see it wrap up. I'm enjoying it. I would like to see it eventually wrap and Peter replace Doc Ock. I'd like to see a proper Doc Ock again. Like, they'll have to resurrect him or something.
What if Miles Morales replaced Doc Ock as the Superior Spider-Man, and then Peter Parker's just the Amazing Spider-Man?
It'd be cheesy, but I don't know. I guess wait and see on that one. On to Fantastic Four, number 12. Picking up the torch from Muji here, since he's canceled his
last one was number
subscriptions.
11. Yes.
Yeah.
I got more books coming in their place that hopefully will be good.
This isn't the official, like, handing over the torch yet. I mean, Fraction will still have his name attached even when Carl Kessel takes over with the next issue.
Yeah, he scripted it all the way through, I want to say 16 or 18 on one and 16 or 17 on the other. So I think Fantastic Four all the way through 18.
So I think the books might suffer a little bit, like, because the writing seems a little better than the last month, which was kind of crummy with the Liberation Front or the Preservation Front, where they don't like the future or something. They're trying to get everything on this world back to how it used to be. They're kind of stupid characters, but it's cool to see the 2 Human Torches interact in this book finally. It's got some cool stuff. I actually think it's kind of neat for the Thing to have to wear gloves. I don't know. It's just a neat look for him. There's usually not a reason for that. So any kind of little
I gotta
change,
wear these gloves, see?
You see, my hands are getting weird.
In the name of my sweet Aunt Petunia, why do my hands look like fucking sausages?
Bunch of mooks. But yeah, their powers are still messed up, and they're still trying to get that figured out. They get swarmed by some dinosaurs, which is crazy. And the Thing, by the end of this book, he's really looking like a lump of shit, like, for real. He looks like that shit you have after you drink a lot of dark beer. So all of his exterior rocks have been chipped away. He's really got to come up with something because he can't clobber properly. He's kind of exposed. Like, I don't know.
If you can't clobber properly, then what can you do?
He almost has returned to the original look of him, where he's kind of lumpy. So
it's crumbling time.
It's crumbling time.
I guess they just want also infinite Human Torches now. Yeah. We've got two that are, I guess, are both kind of Johnny Storm. One of them might be, the other one is. And then, they're launching that Defenders book.
Yeah.
And with the original
Jim
Hammond.
Yes. Bringing back because people on their deathbed have really been like clamoring for the original Human Torch. Like, you never brought him back.
What about Toro, you motherfucker?
Yes. So him and Bucky will be back.
Well, anything that's got Bucky and it's got my seal of approval, so just take my money.
That's happening. I think somebody cool's doing it too.
Next month.
That's part of Marvel Now, like
Wave 2.
Marvel Now again, or Marvel Now Deuce, or
Marvel New Originals.
Marvel Tomorrow.
They're doing this shitty thing on all the books where it'll be like Daredevil number 35, aka Daredevil Marvel Now 2.1 and stuff. Like, they're putting like an extra numbering on all the books that month to let you know it's the second wave, even though a lot of them are the same books in the first wave. But I think all they've really announced new is Inhumans, and then you just assume that Amazing X-Men's going to be in it.
Yeah. And
now the Invaders. And who's doing the Invaders? It's some recently left DC people. The guy that was doing Earth 2 in DC.
Oh, fuck. I knew this. Oh, it's Steve Pugh from Animal Man is going to be doing the artwork.
Yeah, and
so I don't know if he's leaving.
I
don't know if he's leaving that book, but he'll be
doing something Robinson. James Robinson. He's doing the actual writing of the Invaders. So.
Cool.
Sweet.
Carl Kessel will be there on Fantastic Four next month. Hopefully the writing will improve. He was the inker from one of my favorite runs, like the Mark Waid, Mike Wieringo, and apparently he contributed to storyline ideas and stuff for that. So, well, I guess we'll see how that goes. And Mark Bagley's still attached, so I'm good to go.
That's cool. Well, I'll start over in Marvel, since we'll continue that little theme right over here to my corner of Getchyapulls. Started out with Deadpool number 16, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, part 2 of 5. It's a story where Deadpool is exploring his origins a little bit, which have always been kind of murky and clouded in secrecy.
Murky.
And he's been abducted by the Weapon X facility, and we've learned that they've been attacking him for years, knocking him out and taking pieces of him to experiment on, because he's basically an endless supply of meat because of his regenerative powers. But he fucking busts loose and really fucking goes berserker mode to steal someone else's catchphrase on all of the Weapon X people, and he gets out and he finds that he's actually in North Korea.
Oh, damn.
And he's not in the Weapon X facility at all, that it was just made up to look like it, and that they've been doing these experiments on these Koreans, trying to turn them into X-Men, and they've got them all hoarded into concentration camps. But they all did it based on the meat they stole from Wade, so they're all, like, fucked up looking and have cancer, you know?
It seems like something that shouldn't be funny, but it seems pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely an element of dark humor to it, though. You feel sorry for him, you kind of laugh about it, and
cancerous Korean X-Men.
The Korean Nightcrawler actually helps Wade out tremendously, and they're getting ready to breach the military facility of the Korean dictator, and find out that they've got Wolverine and Cap on ice, who were hunting Wade after he got abducted. So it gets more hairy as it goes along, but no, like, this is one of my favorite Marvel books. It's just always a romp of a good time, and then taking a little bit more serious tone, but still kept all of the humor where it needed to be. It was awesome. Moving along to Captain America, number, I don't even see the number on it.
Number 11.
It was 11, okay,
I got this one too.
Yeah, it was a good one. Now we're of course in the post-John Romita era, so kind of reestablishing some of the themes of the book, talking about his childhood.
AKA the what can you do to keep Todd buying you?
Yeah. Well, luckily they have one of my other, favorite artists, the Pacheco Carlos from Avengers Forever. Was probably my favorite thing he's ever done. But his artwork definitely looks different. I guess they're trying to make it look a little bit more like Romita Jr. style. I mean, they kept the same colorist, so that definitely goes a long way towards that. But yeah, it's still looking good, so I'm definitely not off this book yet.
Oh, no. Man, basically Steve's recovering from all of this stuff that's happened to him in Dimension Z. You get a look at Nick Fury Jr. Interrogating Jet Zola, the daughter of Arnim Zola, who made it over. Cap ends up convincing Fury to let her come with him, and they share a bonding moment. Meanwhile, you find out that Cap villain of recent years, who has a really good appearance in Wolverine Origins by Daniel Way several years ago, Nuke, is back on the scene, and he's going to places where there were military engagements and Americans died and just fucking mowing down civilians.
Yeah.
So, Cap.
When was Nuke? When did he first show up?
It was late. I mean,
I
he might have been earlier.
Was Daredevil born?
Okay.
I think, unless that wasn't his appearance. I'm pretty sure that's where he first showed up.
That would have been when?
88-ish.
Okay, so yeah, he's been around a minute.
It was probably after that. 89, I'd say. After the Batman
character
stuff.
named Nuke really, I felt like it had to come from the early 90s. That's
Yeah.
close.
It was on the verge.
Yeah.
It was Cold War City still.
Yeah. I like that they are flying a Back to the Future car. That's pretty
Yes.
cool.
They have a DeLorean?
Yeah, I mean, it looks kind of like it, and it's flying, and the
Yeah,
wheels
it's
kind
pretty
of
close.
pop up like in the Back to the
That's
Future.
all, dude. That's all that Marvel. Dude, that's all. Like this summer of Marvel is
It's
like
Back to the Future.
let's
Yeah.
just do Back to the Future, but the Marvel way.
And of course, we found out that Sharon Carter, spoiler alert, died in the last issue, and Cap's
Yeah.
having a hard time dealing with that. But he's also trying to counsel Jet on her grief, losing her dad, and moving on to a new life here in this normal dimension of normal people. And
Next month's story is going to be Cap finds out that Sharon had a secret baby that's now 12 years old, and he thinks in 6 years everything will be all right again.
Oh, no.
damn it, man! But
Gross, but so true.
just funny that Cap is advising her that really to move on, she's got to let go of the past, and she reminds him that his entire apartment is filled with shrines to his past. So
Which
he goes
includes a giant Nazi flag, which I thought was kind of shocking. I mean, it makes sense. But I mean, they showed it over the American flag's way in the background, but right up top was a huge Nazi flag.
You think it's shocking simply because one asshole parent will grab their kid's book and be like, "There's Nazi flags in Marvel books.
Yeah.
Get them off the shelves. Don't you know this might offend me?" Is it offensive to you? Well, no, but I mean, it might be. So why would you do something that might offend me? But you're not offended. No. And then Hulk punches them.
That would be appropriate, but I loved it. Interesting that they're taking a new turn, but I did like the new art, and I'm totally happy with Remender's Cap. It was an interesting early ride. I knew it was going to pay off. A lot of people were complaining in the early issues that nothing was happening. I mean, it was a slow build, but
It definitely was, but
it all tied in. As many things with Remender does, he drops so many little hits when he's doing the slow build that without them it would just be. There's crucial things that he puts in there. So, still continuing, looking forward to what he's got going on.
as long as he's on that book, it's going to be pretty phenomenal, I imagine.
Yeah, I'm really a fan of his writing. Moving on to Avengers number 19, another Infinity tie-in, and this was a good one. It was basically, in Infinity, you're more seeing what's going on the Thanos side now of him attacking Earth while the Avengers are gone, and what's going on with the Inhumans. And so, but we know this fight with the Builders is still going on out there, and this is really what the Avengers tie-ins have been focusing on, is specifically the ship with Carol Danvers and Hawkeye, and some of the other newer recruits to the Avengers team that got abducted by the Builders, and they're being interrogated by them. Carol Danvers, of course, really shows her leadership here and holds steadfast. In the meantime, we also learn that Peter Quill's dad is a real bitch-made cunt. have a brief flash up to the
Fuck
Galactic.
you, Papa Quill.
Yeah, we have a brief flash up to the Galactic Council, and they're all trying to figure out what the fuck to do. And then he sneaks off and tries to do a backdoor deal with Thanos, and with the Builders rather, and the Builders say fuck you. And because of that, he fucking triangulates their signal to where they are, and the Builders find their secret base, and the comic ends with the secret base getting blown up by the Builders because Peter Quill's dad was a bitch-made cunt.
It's crazy with the
There should be a
Inhumans.
one-shot called that.
It's crazy now with like the Inhumans and like, I guess it's good for comics, like with the Marvel movie universe having to expand. It's bringing like all these characters that they didn't give two shits about for like 20 to 30 years at a time. And now, you know, they're getting primetime spots in books like the Guardians of the Galaxy, like Nova, people that they care about for a few issues and then they don't sell, then they don't care about for a few years. It's like, now they're putting importance. And it really looks like, based on solicits with, so with like Inhumanity, with like the big storyline being Inhumans are popping up everywhere, man. It totally looks like to me, they're like, well, we don't have the X-Men, we got to make like our new version of the X-Men.
Yeah.
That's possible. The
That'd be
Terrigen
badass,
Mist will become a widely known thing.
Yeah.
For once. And gonna move along from Marvel. Goodbye 616. Pew! All the way over to Earth Zero in the new 52. And Villains Month continues. And I had some pretty good ones this week. I was really happy. I had a solid parlay of Villains Month titles this week.
Nice.
Last week there was a couple that weren't as good as the others.
Some stinkers.
Quality varies in these, but they were all good to great.
Yeah.
Killer Frost #1. Not familiar really with her origin. I've never really read much about her. I know she was a Firestorm villain originally, and that she's
Makes
been
sense.
featured in many DC adaptations and things as sort of a supporting character, but never really had the spotlight on her. This tells you how she became Killer Frost. How she really didn't even start out as a villain. It was the cruelty of some assholes that tried to kill her and then fucking pushed her over to the edge, and then she became a villain. So, but because of her condition, when she got her powers, like it's a Smallville episode, actually, if you remember, like the guy that stays freezing cold and like he's got to suck the heat out of people. Yeah, well, that's her thing.
Oh,
She's got to fucking suck the heat out of people to stay alive. So, it's like you kind of have a little bit of sympathy for her as a villain. And the seeds are definitely planting that the crime syndicate is about to be opposed by the main villains of DC. They left Forever Evil thinking that all the villains were just teaming up now that the Justice League were out of the way. But it's clear that, and moving on to this next book, Black Manta 23.1, or Aquaman 23.1, Black Manta #1, was the biggest indicator of this, because Black Manta has really positioned himself to be the biggest hero in the DCU, possibly.
Dang, nice.
Because
I love the fucking titles get me every
It's
time.
like, that's confusing as hell.
Yeah,
Aquaman 2.
It's Aquaman
23.1,
Aquaman 23.1, Black Manta #1, a tie into Zero Year. It's not, but it's...
Yeah, essentially, Black Manta's in prison, which you see in Forever Evil, but you see the full story of this. He's after the big fight with Aquaman in the first arc that he showed up in Aquaman. He's been in prison since then, and they try to offer him a deal, and he basically says, fuck him, and he gets out, and he goes to the crime syndicate meeting, and they say they've killed Aquaman, and he's like, nah, motherfucker, only I kill Aquaman. But, he watches one guy get fucking disintegrated by Ultraman before his eyes for daring to protest, and they give him Aquaman's trident to try to, give him a consolation prize. So he's like, okay, cool. Then he fucking bails, and he's all plotting to fucking take these motherfuckers down. So Black Manta could be one of the big heroes of Earth, and this is all said and done as the crime syndicate is wreaking havoc across the new 52 right now.
That's good villain's logic. Like, the only thing I have to live for is to kill Aquaman.
Yeah.
You took that away from me.
I better do
So
something.
now I'm mad at you because I gotta be after somebody.
Yeah, so I really like that spin. That's probably been my favorite single Villains Month book so far. And there's been some good ones, but that one
Sounds awesome.
That one made me really excited to read the further adventures of Black Manta. And then we had Reverse Flash #1, which, tying into what Muji was talking about earlier, more really asshole parents. In this case, the mother died. We find out Reverse Flash is not Eobard Thawne, the man with the worst name in comics, but Daniel West, the brother of Iris West.
Okay.
And their father is apparently an abusive drunk, and so he uses his go back in time power to try to change his own origin by killing his father before he ever got the chance because of all the shit that happened. It drove a rift between him and Iris. Good backup, especially if you're reading The Flash. This one probably wouldn't have been as good to people that weren't reading The Flash as just a standalone.
Yeah.
It didn't work as well, I didn't think, but I still enjoyed it because I'm all up on The Flash. If you're not, you may want to avoid that one.
If not, then get you some trades.
Yeah,
really.
get caught up because it's good. Yeah, I know it's not Wally West. That's what all the fucking internet wants Wally West to be the Flash. And I like Wally. I mean, Barry's a bit more fucking morose and fucking serious, and Wally's more fucking snappy and witty with the fucking jokes and shit. But fucking, you know, it is what it is, and it's been fucking good. So get with it. I mean, the title pages alone are worth $3. They're fucking magnificent. And then on to Green Lantern 23.2, a.k.a. Mongol #1. We see...
A.K.A. A Tale of Earth Zero. A.K.A.
This is pretty much a nice little neatly packaged retelling of what you know about Mongol, and just shows that he's a savage bastard. They attack a planet and abduct one of their people, and fucking... The guy tries to give Mongol lip, and then he blows up his planet in front of him and fucking decapitates him, and all that good stuff, you know, showing he's just a real bastard of space, and, you know, reinforces his position as a mighty villain in the DCU, and makes me look forward to him showing up in Green Lantern, so it did its job.
I do like that they've improved that technology with the little, the cover where it's like multiple images to make it look 3D.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have this No Man's Land #1 that has this beautiful Batman drawn by Alex Ross, but like it looks like a piece of shit because something happened to part of it, and if any part of it gets warped at all, it just doesn't work anymore. So you can't even see the cover. It's like, damn
You gotta be careful with these. If you do eventually pick any of them up, there's been stories of them melting in the sun.
Oh,
so
shit.
You gotta store
Can't leave
them
them in the car.
in a nice cold place.
The technology hasn't gone that far, but it's better anyway.
No doing that. And then out of the New 52 into the Smallville universe, the story Amazon continues with its second part, which is Wonder Woman in the Smallville universe, and doing it all kinds of justice, lots of fun, lots of entanglements with...
Surprisingly, you find out that she didn't used to have a relationship with Lois.
No, but Steve Trevor did.
Yes.
But Steve Trevor's there. He's followed her in, but you have a nice entanglement with General Sam Lane and a new villain that they've introduced called something Bones, like Colonel Bones, Professor Bones, Mr. Bones, I don't know. Somebody Bones. He's a fucking black skeleton.
Brother Bones?
Yeah.
Mr. Bones sounds about right.
But
remember Mr. Bones?
Still a very fun comic, and especially, like, they've really gone far from what the show was, but they keep enough of the stuff that they started and storylines and things that they created just for the show going, but like the art, when they first started, they made a conscious effort to draw the characters like the actors, and now it just looks like a Superman comic, but I'm not complaining because it's still one of the best ones on the shelf. So, you know, definitely check that out. You probably want to get it in trade, though. I would advise go ahead and get it because you go watch the show, get it in trade, and just enjoy yourself and all the great cheesy goodness that is Smallville. It's not like Batman Adam West cheesy, but you know it's like WB cheesy, and that's but it's got the action, it's got the drama, it's got what you want, man. I'm telling you, just don't worry about what your friends think. Drop all your preconceived notions of oh well it's Dawson's Creek. Just go into it like wanting to like it, and you'll love it. I'm telling you.
Yeah. I didn't. I started watching it when episode 1 came on, motherfuckers, and I watched it because I was like, hey, it looks like Dawson's Creek, but with Superman.
Yeah. That's a winning combination.
So watch that shit.
Yeah. Well,
like a 19-year-old Muji did.
Well, there's 10 seasons of it, I tell you. You can really get immersed. And I mean, everybody from the DCU that you could almost think of that they had rights to showed up in the show, and everybody they didn't has shown up in the comics. So it's really been a nice supplement to the overall body.
Oh,
Smallville season 1 was the first DVD box set I ever bought. It was like $40 when it came out in like 2000, which is like $60 now. So it was a lot, but it's fucking worth it.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you can buy them all in one box set for like $80. So, or I'm sure you can just watch them on some sort of streaming service.
I mean, I think few portrayals of Superman really capture like the wholesomeness and the heart of the character like that show does. I mean, you know, he's really a good person. The Kents are really genuine good people that you want to root for, and it really makes it easy to get invested in it and the characters and everything. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, for a while, Jeff Loeb worked on it, and then Jeff Johns worked on it some, and then Ron Q. Miller in the last few seasons worked on it. So, I mean, it's all people who've written the character in the comics well, too. So, you know, which I didn't even know at the time. I wasn't even reading comics. I just liked Superman. But, yeah, if you... I mean, I don't understand anyone who doesn't like Superman not liking it. But
a lot of haters.
It was just cool to hate it. People were like, oh, he knows Lex Luthor and they're teenagers. What the fuck?
Yeah, Michael Rosenbaum is an awesome Lex Luthor, too, by the way.
Yeah.
But in any event, time to close this party down. Go watch Breaking Bad. And Dexter. The Walking Dead, number 114, pick of the week. They keep the tension going, man. I tell you, there's not a book on the shelf that I look forward to more every month. Still The Walking Dead, because they still know how to keep you with the cliffhangers and the page turners. What about it, Muji?
Yeah, shit's gonna go down. Ezekiel, if you haven't been reading it, there's a character named Ezekiel who looks like fucking
George P. Funk
George
Clinton.
P. Funk Clinton,
Yeah,
exactly.
I've seen him,
And he has a fucking tiger, and the tiger attacks motherfucker this week. So if that's not enough reason to read it, then why you listen to this podcast?
Needs to be more tiger attacks.
Yeah, we really got left last issue with the big cliffhanger of Negan had everybody dead to rights, and we now see that the alliance that Rick and company have made has come through to help them. So you got Ezekiel and his tiger, and you got Jesus, and you got all the guys from the hilltop, and looks like shit is revving up for all-out war as they, for the first time, Negan and his crew got sent on the run.
Yeah, I mean, the next few issues are going to be badass. I mean, it's starting to be bi-monthly, so, and it's like, 12 issues of the story. So, I mean, that's going to be like a long, awesome story, so I'm really, really pumped.
And I imagine they're not coming out of it unscathed, as The Walking Dead never happens. I mean, could this finally be the end of Rick? Could it be the end of Carl? Could it be the end of Andrea? We almost lost her last issue with
Rick and Carl in the comics seem like the only untouchable characters, but that would be the thing that Kirkman would do, was make them seem like they're the only ones that are untouchable.
Just have a vindictive streak
one
day and be like, fuck him, he's dead.
Yeah, I mean, I've always, since I started reading it, thought about, would he dare, try to write Walking Dead without Rick?
Yeah.
Because that's just going to make it so different. Because even all the characters that are in it, I mean, now at this point, kind of spoilers, the majority of the characters that were the crew of people that you liked are all dead.
Yeah.
There's only a few of them left, so it's like, I don't know, man. I mean, I guess you never know, but I would be very surprised if Rick. I mean, Carl's gotten pretty badass himself.
Oh yeah.
But he's also really fucked up. So, I mean, he all of a sudden has adopted Daryl hair from the show, but completely out of necessity.
Yeah.
If you watch The Walking Dead on TV, you're like, why did Daryl all of a sudden, his hair, start looking emo, and how is he finding enough mousse in this fucking post-apocalyptic world to keep it looking that way?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll think about that every time I watch it. Well, now Carl's got that hair in this, but it's to cover up where...
His hideously
it's where his
deformed
eyes
face.
gone. Yeah, it's to cover up half his face where he fucking doesn't have an eye, so it at least makes sense. He's like, I really am emo. I'm really mad because I have one fucking eye and this sucks.
Damn eye?
I have a legit reason to be this sad, you assholes. But yeah, it's great. I mean, Walking Dead is as good as anything. I mean, sometimes we don't praise it as much because it doesn't seem like it needs to be.
Yeah, it's like,
people are reading Walking Dead. If you're not reading the comics, I mean, fucking Walking Dead #1 was #1 trade again this month.
Damn.
because nothing that big new came out, so it of course popped back up in its spot. So you figure almost everybody's read it, but it's as good as anything, as exciting as it's ever been. I know a lot of people probably who aren't reading it would be like, no way. But it's as close to or as exciting as it was when it was in the prison. It's really close to that level.
You think the governor is a sorry, low-down, no-good bastard? Then he is Mother Teresa compared to Negan, this new guy who is just... Like, the governor's a guy that was turned horrible by circumstance that at one time you could clearly see was trying to do the right thing. Whereas Negan is just rotten to the fucking core, you know? It's very different. And, man, they've got a hell of a villain on their hands with him, and I can't wait to see what happens.
Speaking of which, the third of those Walking Dead books are coming out next month, the Woodbury books, so that's awesome.
Who's the third one focusing on?
I mean, I don't know. It's just called, like, something Woodbury, and it's part 3, so... I don't know.
Interesting.
It'll be good. But anyways, it's all the shit from this week. We got pulls next week. More Villains Month.
Fuck ton of Villains Month.
I got the Penguin. So that'll be cool. I have a bunch of random books aren't Villains Month too next week, I think.
I know we got Superior.
I got some Image coming.
Powers Bureau.
I think I have a new Daredevil this week, so that's exciting.
Daredevil.
We'll have a ton of books again. That's it. So, let's go get them. Get your pulls.